What's happening, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here, and today we're going to talk about tightening up your picking around open chords and using alternate bass notes to do something like that. So make sure to click the link below to grab the tabs that go along with this exercise, and eventually the whole thing is going to sound like this. So we're really using all the main chords in the key of C in like an open context to go back and forth between alternating bass notes, which is really great for your picking. Now again, the way we're doing this is going to be as an exercise, but as I'm going to show you later on, we can make this into songs. You probably already know a lot of the songs that uses this kind of technique, so on and so forth. So, C major chord. Now, the regular C major chord is just your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, which is a C. This is the root note of the chord, that's why it's called a C major. Middle finger's on 2D, the G string is open, your pointer finger's on the 1st fret of the B string, and then open high E string, right? So, a lot of times if you see a C chord, and maybe if you're just getting started or intermediate level playing, and you have like maybe a 4 count or like a bar of C, just go, okay? And then maybe if you have like a G chord, it's just... So then your songs end up sounding kind of like... Which is great, but to kind of take it to the next level, you can start working on changing your bass notes and tightening up your pick strumming. Or you can do the same thing with your fingers if you're playing fingerstyle. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that C chord, you're going to move your ring finger a string lower to the low E string 3rd fret, and your pinky is going to grab the 3rd fret on the A string where you just were, okay? So this is the exact same chord, but now the lowest note is no longer our root note. This is still our root note, but we have the option of striking the low E string as a bass note, okay? So now you can play this as one chord and get a fuller C major sound, again without it, with it. You know, it's kind of a negligible difference, but stuff like this kind of matters when you're trying to add a little bit of variety to your playing. So when we have this, we're gonna work on striking just the root note of the chord and then a down up on the rest of the chord. So when I say the rest of the chord, I'm aiming for maybe the highest 4 strings. So I have the A string, and then a down up on the rest of the chord. Then after that, I'm going to alternate. So when I hit the low string, the low E string 3rd fret, I'm going to grab an alternate bass note there. So I can go back and forth like that. So, you know, that is kind of like maybe an old country western type of sound. But I think it's really cool, and more importantly than just liking the sound or not, is you're really developing the muscle memory for your pick to go back and forth between the A and the E string, which is something that's going to happen a lot in acoustic guitars playing specifically. All right, so we've got an A string, down, up, E string, down, and this is going to be kind of like the rhythm that we're doing it at. Doesn't matter what speed, whatever speed is comfortable for you. If you want to practice to a metronome or like a drum loop or something like that, more power to you. That's really helpful. But we're going to go through all the main chords in the key of C to do this exact same thing, all right? So this is the C major chord. We're going to do it maybe 2 times through for the whole exercise. C, the alternate bass note, which is a G. Then we're going to move to the next chord, the 2 chord in the key of C, which is a D minor, all right? So open D, 2 with your middle finger on the G string, 3 with your pinky or your ring finger on the B string, and then 1 on the high E string with your index finger. Now as a D minor, so the root note is a D, the open D string. We can do the same thing as before, we just go a string lower, same fret, which is just open. So now I have D, the alternate of that root note, which is an A, so D to A, okay? Again, this is gonna be really great practice for you, just kind of like trying to hit just that D string, down up on the rest of the chord, and then strike the A string and down. D, A, D, A. Okay? So now we can add that to the progression, which again is just in order. C, it's alternate to D, A, D, A. Now the 3rd chord in the key of C, it just goes through the alphabet, C, D, E. is a minor chord, E minor. Middle finger 2A, ring finger 2D, everything else is open. Now a root note, an E minor, is an E, open E string. Really easy, the easiest chord you probably ever start out with. Open E, down, up, and then we're gonna strike the next string down, the A string, 2, right, where your middle finger is. So E, A, which is kind of like a departure from the first two that we did, where we went A to E, the A string to the E string, D string to A string, D string to A string, now we're E string to A string. So this exercise, going through all the chords in the key of C, in the chord scale, as it's called, is really helpful because you're kind of, you don't really just get stuck doing one thing. So, you know, it's not like a mindlessly repetitive exercise. You always kind of have to think of where the root note is in the chord and then kind of switch accordingly, all right? So now the next chord, the 4 chord in the key of C, C, D, E, F, F major, you do as a bar chord, but we're gonna make this non-bar chord friendly. So we're gonna do just the middle 4 strings of F major, ring finger, 3rd fret on the A string, pinky 3rd fret on the D string, middle finger 2nd fret on the G string, pointer finger 1st fret on the B string, okay? Now we can just choose to strike the A string first, which is actually a C note. The chord of F has a C in it. The root note is actually going to be, when we're not playing it in a bar chord, the 3rd fret on the D string. All right. So we can still start by hitting the A string first, D. Now, again, you can get creative with this as often as you want in any way. You could start with the root note, the D string, and then go from D to A. They're all going to yield kind of like a different sound, but the purpose of it is just to really get really good with your pick as far as hitting exactly what you're looking for, right? The 5 chord in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, is a G major. All right, now, same thing as before, we're going to hit the low E string first. Your middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the E string, pointer finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string, and we'll do the one where your ring finger is just all the way on the bottom. Everything else is open, okay? So E string, down, up, A string, down, E string, down, up, A string, down, okay? Now, sometimes this is a great way to actually check if you're playing your G major chord with optimum efficiency. A lot of times what I'll see beginners do is, you know, they'll play it, but if you really pick out each note, they might have the E string sounding out, and the A string might not sound great, because sometimes your middle finger might kind of lay down and mute that a little bit. This is a great way to check if you're getting a good tone from the E and the A string, okay? And then, if you want to get out of your way, you can even do something like this. Just to make sure you're not going to mute that A string, you could strike the low E string, down, up, and then for the A string, just lift your middle finger totally out of the way to make sure that alternate bass note is getting the proper amount of shine. G, B, G, B. And then finally we're going to end with the 6 chord in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, minor. Right here. Middle finger 2D, ring finger 2G, pointer finger 1B. Now we're going to actually start with the A string first. There's the root note. And then we're going to go to the string below it, open E. A, down, up, E, down, A, down, up, E, down, A, down, up, E, down. So we have 6 main chords. Each of them are going to have an alternate bass note that we're going to switch between. Now doing it on time can be tricky because you have to go from C major to D minor to E minor to F major to G to A minor back to C, okay? But the great thing about doing it where you pick the root note first is it buys the rest of your hand a little bit of time, and specifically, in a lot of these chords, like an open string, might be the first note you're going to, like with the D, the A minor, or the E minor, okay? So all together, I'll do it slowly, is the C major chord where we alternate between 3rd fret on the A string and 3rd fret on the E string. So C, and this note is a C, and this note is a G, all in a C major chord. C, G, C, G. Gonna go to the next chord, D minor, D, A, D, A. Next chord is E minor, open E, B. The 2nd fret on the A string is a B. chord, F, the A string to the D string, to the G major chord, alternating between the E and the A string, then A minor E, A minor E, C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, back to C. Okay? Really great practice. And then, like I said, you don't have to do these in order. Or else, if you do it in order, it does sound kind of like an exercise. So maybe just start doing them in different progressions. We go from like a C to a G to an A minor. C to G to A minor to F. Tons of songs that have that progression, right? So really, it starts out as an exercise, but it ends up being something that you can really seamlessly transition into songs that maybe you already play. You can use it with bar chords, you can use it with any single thing on a guitar. The way that the guitar is set up, especially with the low E, A, and D strings, is if you just go down a string or up a string, there's usually an alternate bass note that is gonna sound good. Like if I just have like a D major chord here to E minor, no matter what kind of chord voicing I play, that E to A is always gonna sound good for the most part, right? So just experiment. Use the exercise in the link below to kind of help you out. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up in the comment section and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot.